for God. Come and learn about Him. Here's the Bible with Pastor Adam.
Hi guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the Bible with me. So where are we this week? Who remembers? Who can remember where we are? Exodus. That's right, Exodus. This week we're in Exodus chapter 3. We learned last week in Exodus 1 and 2 about a certain baby boy. A baby boy named Moses. And the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, didn't want the Hebrew boys alive anymore, if you remember. And he ordered them all to be killed. So Moses' mother sent her baby down the river. And who would find that baby in a basket but the Pharaoh's daughter? So, if you remember, the Pharaoh's daughter ended up raising Moses as her own son. So, we continue this week in Exodus chapter 3. So Moses grew up in the palace of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. He grew up to be a strong young man. But Moses didn't like the way his people were treated. You might remember that the Hebrew people, the Israelites, the Jews, they were slaves now, and they were being treated very cruelly by the Pharaoh. They were being forced to work very hard, and they were being physically hurt for that work, and they were just not treated very well at all. So Moses saw this. He saw this, and he didn't like the way they were treated. He saw the Hebrew slaves being beaten and bullied every day. So Moses left the palace, left Egypt, and he became a shepherd. Excuse me, he didn't leave Egypt, he just left the palace. He became a shepherd. A shepherd is someone who takes care of animals, guys. And he got married, and he had a family. And one day, Moses was tending to his sheep. He was taking care of his sheep on a mountain. And there he saw a very strange sight. Very strange. A bush was on fire. But the fire didn't burn the bush. The bush remained a bush, remained alive. So Moses went up to get a better look. And a voice came out of the fire. A voice came out of the burning bush. It was God speaking to Moses, speaking to him. So Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. God told Moses that he had seen the suffering of the Israelite people. And he said to him, "Go to Pharaoh. Tell him I want him to free my people so that you can take them to the land of milk and honey, the land I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." The land of milk and honey, that sounds funny. That's just an expression to talk about how the land is going to be a good land, a land that they can grow food on, a land that they can raise healthy animals on, a very prosperous land, the land of milk and honey. Moses didn't think he would be brave enough, though, to face the king alone, to face the Pharaoh alone. God told him to take his brother Aaron with him to speak to the king, or to speak for him. "But what if Pharaoh doesn't believe you have sent us?" Moses said. And so God replied, "I will give you a sign to show Pharaoh. Is that your staff on the ground? Throw it on the ground." So Moses threw down his staff, and it changed into a snake. When he picked up the snake by the tail, though, it turned back into a staff. Pretty interesting. Then Moses went back down the mountain after his conversation with God, and he and Aaron told the people, the Israelite people, what God had said. They told everyone to get ready to leave Egypt, to gather up all their things, be ready to leave right away, whenever they say. Moses would lead them to the land that God had promised. Interesting. Interesting. Exodus chapter 3. Moses then had his first encounter with God, his first instructions from God. Moses is going to go on to be a very important person for God, a very important tool used by God to free his people out of the bad situation they were in Egypt. But what's interesting is you have here an example that Moses wasn't the perfect guy. You know, he's still afraid to do things even when God says that he's going to make something happen. He still sort of doubts his own ability, and he doubts whether he can be brave enough to face the Pharaoh. But remember, God had said, I'm going to take you to that land. I'm going to take my people to the land that I had already promised them. And so it's interesting that even after a direct conversation with God, Moses is still worried. Worried that he's not strong enough to do what he needs to do. Worried that Pharaoh is possibly stronger than God. I don't know. It's interesting though. You guys should think about how God would want to use you, and if you're willing to go right when God calls you. Am I ready to go and do what God would have me do? Or do I doubt myself? Do I doubt God? We don't want to do that. So, learn from Moses. He's going to do important things, but he's not the perfect guy. I don't think we need to be the perfect guy, but we can still be better in following God. We're going to find out how this goes next week when we talk about the events of Exodus chapter 5 through 11, when God sends some messages to Pharaoh. But for now, that's it for this week. Moses is going to be the leader of the people, getting them out of Egypt. I'm interested to see how this goes for them. See you guys next week. Bye, guys.